Crossing from Hour, Chapter 9, Shale's Goodbyes.
I've never cried in my life. Okay, so I cried when I was a baby, but that was different. I was a grown shrimp now, nearly 11 years of age, and I'd never properly cried until then. My mother held me as I overlooked the rubble that Schale was amongst. I could not stop the pain I felt, nor the tears that fell down my orange face. It was all my fault. I had taken Schale here. Without me, she wouldn't have been in that castle before it collapsed.
Don't blame yourself, sweetie.
My mother hugged me tightly. I couldn't help it. Without warning, a shadow emerged from the heavy, dirty rubble. Its outline had bushy, curly hair and a curvy, flowery body. Could it be? No. As sunlight unmasked the mysterious figure, I dropped to my knees, overcome with relief. It was Schale. Schale had survived. Like me and my mother, she was covered in cuts and bruises. She smiled as she approached us.
Boy, am I glad to see you.
Schale laughed, hugging me. Before I could reply, my mother spoke to us both. She knelt down before us.
Now, before I thank you for your excellent service and for saving my life, you've got to both promise me you'll never attempt something as stupid as that ever again,
She said sternly. Slightly embarrassed, we both nodded.
Great. I guess it's about time we clear this mess up.
Mother looked back at Anderaland and the distant sight of Protopia.
What will happen to Anderaland?
Schale asked, inquisitively.
There will be no more Andaraland, no more Brutopia.
My mother declared.
I appoint myself queen of both countries, and my first plan of action is uniting the ocean into one. I will start by demolishing that dreadful wall.
Schale and I looked at one another. Her rosy cheeks were blackened by some soot. She smiled and the dirt seemed to disappear. There truly was something magical about her.
Now I have to give a press conference to the people of both countries.
Mother said, smiling proudly.
Lockig, I'm sorry about keeping your aunt a secret and for lying about here. I couldn't have her getting her tentacles on you. You're far too precious for that.
I blushed. Everything was so clear to me now. My mother started walking away. I went to follow her, but Schale stopped me.
Lockig?
She smiled at me. What? I smiled back.
I'm not going back.
What?
I'm leaving the ocean.
But Anderaland and Brutopia are one, I protested. We can see each other all the time. We can be best friends. You haven't met my friends yet. You need to stay. For me.
There's wars on land, Lockig. Hundreds more than here. Thousands. And they need to unite too.
Schale held out my hand and smiled, nearly crying. She was human enough to survive the dry world. What about me? I choked. She smiled warmly back at me.
I'll never forget you, Lockig. One day you'll be king here, and you need to be strong and brave, just like you were over the past 2 days I've known you.
But, will I ever see you again? I already knew the answer to that question. Once you go on land, you never come back.
Adios.
Schale said softly, before kissing me on the cheek. And then she walked away. I could hear her sobbing over her little footsteps in the sand. And that was the last time I ever saw Schale.